that extended NEC meeting that the ANC is holding in Boksburg. It appears there's some kind of impromptu briefing with Fikile Mbalula, of course, who is part of the top 7. Let's listen in.
The Alliance, we have also invited especially the Umkhonto weSizwe. We have invited the MDM, which is COSAS and SASCO representatives, where we also invited Contralesa. The list process of the ANC has been a rigorous process, starting with the provinces, starting with from the ground and the provinces, culminating into provincial extended meetings where the lists were finalized. And then now we are at the National List Conference. So the National List Conference will finalize the list. We have briefed the media through the Electoral Commission, which was established to oversee this process, led by Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe. We have guidelines that guide us in terms of the list process, very elaborate guidelines and rigorous in a way, looking at each and every candidate, and then each candidate undergoing a process of interviews, starting with the president of the ANC, who's in the list. He had an interview for 2 hours on policies and everything else. The process of the list also involved a screening and vetting, looking at criminal records and all of that. The process of the list as well include, like I said, the interviews in terms of engagement individually with each candidate. About 284 candidates were actually interviewed through this process. So it's been a very, very, very rigorous process, which come from the branches through the election of people and so on. So we are here today. So today we'll get the reports from the list committee. Out of all that process, that will look at screening, look at integrity issues, look at the question of performance, because in all of this we need continuity. So in terms of continuity, we look at performance of those who were given an opportunity, of which 50% of those must be retained in the list, so that there is continuity. We don't then start from the scratch. So we will get the report here today, and then it will be finalized, and we should be ready before Friday to file our list. And after that, we should be able to answer your questions about our list. I've seen people making comments in the media, and some speaking on behalf of the Integrity Commission, and some speaking on behalf of the Electoral Commission. We will have a press conference when all is sorted and done with the Electoral Commission and the Secretary General. A press conference will be convened to brief on the ANC list. Of course, it takes into consideration all elements in terms of the principles that make up the African National Congress and the South African populace. We look at the national question, geographical spread, we look at qualifications, we look at continuity and all of that. So those are the things that the list look at, and as we come here to finalize, these are some of the things that we'll be finalizing. So wait for us till we speak for ourselves. So anyone who says the list of the ANC represent this and represent that, that's not the ANC speaking. The ANC will speak for itself. Those are faceless sources. Anyone can make their comment and make their wish and speak as a faceless source, but the ANC will speak for itself. We will submit our list. We hope before Friday, we should be ready to submit our list. And once that is done, we will give you a feedback from this meeting. Of course, this meeting will discuss the list. We'll make reflections. There's still work that needs to be done overnight, tomorrow, Wednesday. So the whole week, there's work that needs to be done, interactions and all of that. The guidelines are very clear, which have been read and have been distributed and made public. You've got them. If you don't have them, you can check with our spokesperson and DCIP. You can have them. So that's the process we have finalized. So we have arrived here at Beechwood to then finalize the list and look at it and all of that with the eye of the needle, informed by all the guidelines and case by case. And then we then finally come to a conclusion. We are ready to go and submit our list. Once our list is submitted, we'll then explain it to the public, who is in that list and why. If you've got questions, you've got comments, you can make them. And thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you. We're only going to take process-related questions, one question per media house, so that we can allow the SG also to go and be part of the start of the conference. Newsroom?
Thank you very much. It's Zianda Ngobo from Newsroom Africa. What do the guidelines say for those sitting at home who aren't aware of them? What do the guidelines say about those who are corruption accused but may not necessarily have matters before a court of law? Because step aside is quite specific that you have to have a matter before a court of law, but a corruption accused, does this disqualify them in any way in terms of issues of integrity? And then for clarity, for someone like Naledi Pandor or Pravin Gordhan who don't sit on the NEC, would they have been interviewed? You spoke about continuity, and they are ANC deployees in the government, but they're not in the NEC. What happens in that regard?
First, there are issues of integrity that the ANC considers, but integrity also is looked at in relation to what the person is accused about, the standing of the person in how far it as far as how it affects the African National Congress in terms of its standing in society, but it also relates to the matters of legality. All of those issues are considered on a case-by-case basis, and then we can assure the public that the matters have been considered. Once the list is done, we will be able to relate to these matters on practical basis. So it's better to speak about something that is tabled and is before us rather than talking about the matter that has been processed. We've got guidelines, we've got principles that guide us. So the list will be determined against those guidelines and principles that we are following in terms of concluding the list. And so that's what is going to happen here. And it will also include the matters, like I said, screening, vetting, criminal records, matters of integrity, where are they, what happens to individuals in relation to those matters, and so on. We've got step aside, and we've got people who are serving in the legislatures who are in the step aside as we speak. And at the end of the day, their matters are before the courts and is a well-known case. So in this particular instance, these matters overlap, and we've got checks and balances in between to hold people accountable and then allow them to undergo processes and at the same time give the due process a chance in itself. But in as far as the list is concerned, we are very clear that we've got guidelines that guide us, and we'll follow them. And this is what we are doing. In relation to?
People who aren't in the NEC, but for issues of continuity, were they interviewed, for an example? Yeah,
the question of all structures, starting from the provinces to the officials, they've got an allocation of a particular percentage to intervene. So if we want Mbalula to leave Luthuli House to be on the list and all of that, the officials are allowed to basically, in terms of 20%, to intervene. But largely, it's a will of the structures. It's also a process informed by the Electoral Commission in terms of the guidelines. So if ever the officials so feel that we must include so and so in the list, that will happen. So that's what we are undergoing as of today in terms of the finalization of the list. So for an example, if there are people that we feel need to be included in the list and so on, the officials will make that determination. They will make that determination after today, once we've got a sense of what is happening, what areas require intervention and so on. So that will happen later on today when the list is finalized by the extended meeting.
News 24?
News 24. Just a question around the qualifications. People who don't have matric, at which point do they get disqualified? Do they even make it to interview processes? Could you please just clarify on that?
Well, qualifications take into consideration a whole lot of things, experience and so on. Other people don't have matric necessarily, but they do have qualification by virtue of prior learning. And as a result, they went on to study and get degrees and so on. Others don't have qualifications. We will cross that when we get there, but majority of people, if you peruse the ANC list, have got qualifications to serve in the legislatures. At this time around, you know, the bar has been set higher. That qualifications is key consideration in terms of the criteria. So obviously you can have matric, but it must count for other things, and that you have improved yourself beyond matric, and you have improved yourself in terms of that situation to get the qualification and so on. So that's what will be looked at in terms of the individuals who will appear on the list by the Electoral Commission.
Thank you very much. The second last question. Can we try and keep it brief? Mr. One question per media house, please.
Fikile Mbalula from the SABC. Mr. Mbalula, in essence, who are those whom have been left out of your list, particularly looking at the 97 names that were interviewed by the Integrity Commission with regards to their involvement in fraud, corruption, money laundering and allegations of state capture? 2, Mr. Dr. Zwelini Mkhize, Digital Vibes, he's also been flagged. Has he been cleared by the Integrity Commission? Those who are currently going through the courts and who were barred from contesting at the conference in 2022, are they also disqualified from being members of parliament or even participating in this particular list and having their names being drawn in individuals such as Bongani Pongo? Thank you.
The last one.
Every individual in the list, once it is finalized, will be able to comment about those individuals and their standing, and will be in a position to give you a record of those individuals. At the present moment, let us not speculate. If anyone is in the list, there is a reason why that person is left in the list. You are right to scrutinize it and ask questions. And once this process is done, we will be able to clarify the questions you are asking if those individuals happen to be on the list. At the present moment, it's not really dodging any question, it's cutting, you know, it's putting the cart before the horse. So we are there now. So we should be able to answer those questions. Those who are affected by step aside, Zondo Commission matters, we have clarified that we have people who appeared before Zondo. There are decisions of Zondo that have been taken, and there are processes of the ANC that have been followed in relation to individuals, and those matters will deal with them as and when the list has been finalized.
Tavis from Eyewitness News. Just a brief question, SG. We saw the National Police Commissioner attending this meeting. Just maybe you can just explain what capacity is in here for.
No, the National Police Commissioner is not invited. He's not attending the meeting. He's probably here for a meeting with his own boss, which is the minister. So he didn't attend the meeting. So just be clear. Even if you can allege that he attended the meeting, in terms of my credentials, it doesn't qualify to be inside, because the meeting is the meeting extended to the NEC, extended to the provinces, extended to the leagues of the ANC, extended to the alliance, and invited observers is the MDM structures, as well as Umkhonto weSizwe. So we don't have departments. This is not a lekhutla. We don't have departments and all of that invited here. So if the commissioner is here, is doing his job, He's probably here to meet with the minister or to meet whoever that is meeting with and so on and going on with his job. The ANC is the ruling party. So it has got people who work within the state who are actually part of this organization. So he's doing his job. So he's not part of the meeting. And to cut the long story short, even if you were to allege that he was part of the meeting, the credentials will kick him out. He doesn't qualify.
Thank you very much, members of the media. Thank you, SG. We will have a photo op when the meeting starts, and we will give that indication in a few minutes from now. Thank you very much.